Help support the companies that support our community. Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the Joyner jig. So it's an off-center jig. I had some questions about this, so I'll show you how to get it all set up and a couple of different things you can do with it. This is meant for doing pendants and bottle stoppers, and it's an off-center jig. So let me move the camera over here. We'll get it all set up and show you what it'll do. All right, here's the jig. So these are face plates I made, and this is the mandrel that you screw it onto. But it has a couple plates here. These go together for doing like pendants, and you can rotate this around. It's indexed all the way around there, so those holes line up just about wherever you go. It's all numbered around the outside from 0 all the way up to 12, all the way around the outside. But there's 26 holes in there. Once I get it all set up, I'll kind of show you what to do with that. And so as far as screwing this onto your mandrel, you can move it around. It's anywhere from 0'd out in the center all the way up to 10 different positions where you can put it. And these little things here are for duplicating. So if you want to do earrings, things like that, or pendants, larger size, you can put this on there and they will be the same diameter every time. So it's an easy way to duplicate. I know looking at it, it's kind of a little bit confusing. It has 4 of these little screws too, but let me get a faceplate put on it, and then we'll start out and do a pendant. So I made these little faceplates. This one is for doing bottle stoppers, and this one is for doing pendants. And this big screw actually goes through there, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So as far as the faceplate goes, I zeros right there because you have to unscrew this to put on the other faceplate. So I just marked it so I know right which screws go in and which one. I will say one thing: if you want to do pendants and bottle stoppers, because you have to unscrew that thing to put on the other faceplate on there, I would get 2 of these. And just 2 of those, and that way you could just put the face plates on and they just swap back and forth off of this thing, and you wouldn't have to go through changing your face plates. But let me get that one put on there, and then we will show you how it all gets set up. Let me get that screwed up, and then we'll get it on the lathe. All right, I have that screwed on there. So your mandrel here goes on the side that's numbered. We're just going to put it in the center to start out with. So for duplicating things, it does have a couple of washers that come with it that you put behind here for the center hole. It brings it out a little bit so that you can screw these into the center. I'm not going to demonstrate that today, but because the bolt does come out a little bit too far to screw one in. So if you want to do that, you back that off and put those washers in there so you can get it in the center hole. But what's nice about this is even if you're duplicating the size, you can actually duplicate the lines, the grooves, or whatever you're doing on the off-center part of it too by moving it around to different holes. So those are little buttons, just double-sided tape on there, and you put your piece of wood right on it, and that way both your earrings look the same. All right, as far as this goes right onto here. It has zeroed out right there. So you put this in your lathe, screw that on there with these screws. There's 4 of those. I'll grab the other ones here in just a second and put that all together, but it goes together just like that. So, and then we can put double-sided tape, or you can use hot glue, a little bit of hot glue, and glue a piece of wood to that and start turning. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll put this away for right now, and then we'll do a bottle stopper here in a little bit. All right, and screw that all together. Have a piece of double-sided tape. Just gonna put that right in there. Like I said, you can use hot glue too. And get this off of here. They're all hanging off the edge, so.
I'm gonna have to speed this part up. There we go.
All right, and you can also bring your tailstock up, put some pressure on it too, if you want to do that. Let's go ahead and center it there. and I'll hold it on. So I have everything zeroed out. I will turn the shape, and then we'll show you how you move it around up to off center it. And there's a few different ways. It has all the holes on the back, but plus you can unscrew this ring and spin it around to create off center designs too. That should be good. All right, and one other thing, make sure that you have a drawbar hooked up when you're using a mandrel like that. So just run it through the headstock there. You don't want that thing coming out and hitting the tool rest. All right, bring this up. At this point, everything's running true, and I'm just gonna take the corners off of that, and then we'll start. Maybe do one. This is going to be the back side, so I'll probably do one groove on it just to kind of show you, and then we'll flip it around and do the front side. All right, I have the lathe speed about 1200, and I'm just going to take the corners off with the spindle gouge. A couple little flat spots. That should be good. You want to go ahead and sand it up, do whatever you want to it real quick. Actually, I have one little spot right there. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. There we go. So we'll just hit it with the sandpaper. And have any sandpaper? There we go. Put the lathe speed down. Clean it up a little bit. All right. Now let's do a line across there. Grooving it. So unscrew it. We'll just move it over to, I'm just going to go ahead, now it's a center hole, I'm going to move it over to 2, and we'll put a groove down it. Screw it right back on, lock it on, bring your tool rest up. So use a pencil, and then the way you can decide if you want it way down here, you can start down there, but if you want it like more in the center, let's just say this is the back side, let's come across and we'll just do one in it just like that. And then when you come up with your tool, you can see that spinning around. It's on there, creates that line right there. Turn the lathe speed back up. We'll back that up a little teeny bit. It is off center at that point, so make sure you hold the tool steady. A little bit, just like that. And then it creates that kind of little smile right across there, just like that. Then you can go ahead and finish sanding that up all the way to 600 or whatever you prefer. If you round it over, we'll round over the top side of it a little more so it'll cut down into the next layer of colored plywood here. But yeah, sand it up and that's good to go for that. All right, now I'm going to pull it off and spin it around and put the double-sided tape on that side. All right, new piece of tape. And I'm going to make a little line on that so I can line it up best I can. So put a few of them on there to help you gauge when you're putting it back on the lathe. Oop, we can't do it that way, can we? It would never go on straight. Put it back in center. There we go. Put a couple of them like that. And that way when you put it back on, you can get it pretty close. All right, more tape. Well, and then it's going to cover up my lines, isn't it? We'll get it close. The nice thing about the double-sided tape is you can, before you put pressure on it, you can move it around a little bit if it's not perfect, but that looks pretty good right there. Pressure all the way around. Bring that out. Now we're going to go ahead and knock these corners off, and then we'll start shaping the outside. So I want to dome the front of it a little bit, so that when you do the grooves, like on the back side, they kind of went all the way across it. The more you dome it, the less it's gonna carve in as you're taking little bits out of it out. So you'd have to go really deep to get it to go all the way across. So it creates a little different design. All right, get that off of there. Really close. This one is kind of thick, but definitely go a little bit thinner. Pendant. I'm going to dome it a little bit more, but get the idea. It is a little bit thick, but just for this, I'm gonna just leave it there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. I'm gonna move it over to the number 2 position again. All right. Bring this back up, and again, use your pencil. You put the lines wherever you want. Do one right there. And then another one, let's say down here. So, and it's only going to cut on this top half of it. It's not going to go, if I don't go too deep, it won't go down into there. And then we will need a little hole in it too to hang this by. do a little hole right there. All right, same thing. Actually, the darker the wood, the harder it is to see the lines. So if you're just starting out with this, maybe start out with just a maple to play around with it. I can kind of see it right there. I just barely touched it. I just want to show you that it just cut right there in the gray of the plywood. All right. So, lower it down just a little bit. For the other ones. You can see those two lines. Come in a little bit. Then get them lowered down a little bit more to do this one. Same thing there. It just went into took out the red and went into the gray a little bit. This one here. And just actually dig into it quite a while. See what effect it gives. So that's pretty cool. The colored plywood like that dips right down in there. All right, and so for a pendant, I would probably go up a little bit higher to make the hole, make that hole go all the way through to hang it with. But that looks pretty cool, and you could actually just drill that out and pop it out from there and show you a little closer. So that is really it. There's a bunch of holes on the backside, so you can get a bunch of different designs. If I move this again, you could cut a line, you know, even just a straight across here. You just keep moving it around to get the design you like, and then you can actually rotate this as well. I'll link a bunch of videos. Everybody from Captain Eddie, a bunch of people have done videos on this too. So they've been playing around with it a little more than I have too, so there are different things. And then Ruth is the one I got it from, Niles. You go on her website and there's like step-by-step instructions on how to set it up and some really cool ideas on different designs you can do. Let me go ahead and switch over and I will get it all set up and we'll do an off-center bottle stopper. All right, we have that back in center. Went ahead and screwed this faceplate on there for doing bottle stoppers. So when I made that, I brought that down so it fits the bottle stopper. It's the same size as the mandrel there, so it'll fit right on your bottle stoppers. Then this big screw just goes right through there like this. I went ahead and threaded that in there and holds the whole thing together. Actually, these screws are holding it together too, but this is how you thread your bottle stopper on. So it comes right out the other side, just like that. And then you take and screw this right back onto here, and I'll just put it back on center and screw your bottle stopper right on here. And let me get that all set up. I'll get this screwed back together and then we'll turn a bottle stopper off center. All right, I have a blank here. This is ambrosia maple. I went ahead and threaded it. I'll go ahead and put it on there. And I'm going to tighten it down, but not too tight. You don't want to rip the threads. Strip it. And bring the tailstock up. I'm just going to bring the tailstock up to get it trued, and then we'll pull it away and throw it off center. Lathe speed about 1500. Once we have that done, it's true, I'm going to go ahead and bring the bottom down to match the diameter there. So when I screw the bottle stopper on, it actually matches up with the little collar there. So I'll turn that down real quick. Pull the tailstock away, make sure all these are tight. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to move it over one spot from the 0 position to the number 2. And again, you can move this wherever you want, as many times as you want, and you can move the ring around as well. Bring this up, spin it around to your furthest point, or closest point to you, and then that way when you turn the lathe on, it won't hit the tailstock or hit your tool rest. Let me move the camera over to this side so you can get a better shot. Okay, I'm going to use a small spindle gouge, and I'm just going to start doing a little off-center turning here. I'll just bring this in and do a shape on the side to kind of show you how it works. I have the lathe speed up about 2,000. Just take light little cuts because it's only held on there by that bolt. Just slowly keep moving it in a little bit, making sure it's not going to hit it. There we go. There we go, we're getting pretty close to round. I'm going to do a little ball up there and then bring that down a little bit. gonna come a little bit steeper here, trying to get rid of a little bit of that flat spot. But it's coming good. There we go. Got rid of most of it. One little spot there. But yeah. Then I'll sand that up. Yeah, you can do it. And with this too, I just have it moved off that one position. You can actually unscrew these and spin this around if you want to start cutting it at a different angle, or you can move the ones on the back. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. There we go. Just unscrewed it from the jig there and put a little bit of oil on it and the bottle stopper, and just screws right onto it just like that, and you're done. So it's a pretty cool jig for doing off-center stuff. I will put up a couple of pictures right here of some just really cool stuff you can do too. And the further you get into it, like I said earlier, I'll put a link down below to a bunch of other videos where they get into a lot more detail on stuff. One of them even has like a spreadsheet you can do, so you can go back to it every time and put it in the same position to create the same pattern every time. So I'll have that down below. And if you go on Ruth's website, she has just written instructions, detailed written instructions, and there's a gallery page where you can just see some incredible work that people have done. But it's a really neat little jig. When I was starting the video, I literally looked everywhere in this shop. I probably need to clean up, but I was looking for this mandrel and I couldn't find it. So this one here, I believe this one comes with the jig, but it's a much better mandrel. It screws right onto your headstock. They come in two different sizes, depending on what the thread size on your headstock is. So this screws right on there. You don't need the drawbar. You screw that on and put your jig right onto that. And it brings it a little bit closer to the headstock too, so there's a little less vibration as you get out there, especially when you're doing off-center stuff like this. But super cool. All right, hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next week.